Lu Fan slowly walks forward. His breathing is heavy, but his gaze is steady. The crown lying on the ground is in front of him, made of gold, with intricate lines engraved on the edges. This was no ordinary crown. He picks it up without hesitation. His gaze gets stuck on a stone embedded in the middle of the crown, black, with waves of light purple floating somewhere inside. Lu Fan's eyes narrowed. "This is the Shadow Stone," he said to himself. He stared at it for a moment, then his fingers instinctively curled around the stone. His understanding was clear: it can be broken. Lu Fan applies a lot of pressure on his hand, which causes the crown to instantly break and the 3 stones to scatter. Lu Fan knew that all the broken items except the shadow fountain were collected there. There were even some extra items that could be sold in exchange for all the dragon coins. The status window shows that this stone is known as Shadow Obsidian and has been obtained. The status window shows the status of all the shadows. All 3 have been obtained. The Ancient God Crystal has also been obtained. Shadow Island Breath, 300 out of 569 have been obtained. Shadow Fountain Water is currently 0 out of 50. Senior Sister walked towards her with rapid steps, her face flushed and her eyes filled with anger. "You should have told me." Her voice was trembling, but it also contained layers of sadness and fear. "Your plan used Andre's reflection. I really thought you sacrificed him." Lu Fan said nothing. "Because of you, I had to face fear." Senior Sister's voice became softer, but her eyes were still burning with questions. "What if something really happened to Andre?" "Hey, miss, calm down now." Senior Sister turned around in surprise. Andre was walking up from behind, sword resting on his shoulder, with the same light, mischievous smile on his face that was his trademark. "I'm fine. And anyway, Lu Fan is an expert at faking deaths like this." He joked. "You believed I died, so that means my acting was good." Lu Fan gently rubbed his head as if to hide some fatigue, then said with a slight smile, "Next time I use the mirror, I'll definitely let you know." He paused for a moment and looked at Senior Sister. "But this time, if I told you in advance, the demon would have become suspicious. He would have been cautious and would never have fallen into our trap." But Senior Sister's face was still stern. She didn't say anything, just kept looking at Lu Fan. Suddenly, the same voice echoed again, the same cold, echoing voice, as if bouncing off the walls of a closed room. "You are indeed an extraordinary person. Now my king is free." Lu Fan's eyes became bright and alert. He stood still for a moment. The next moment, there was a vibration in the air. Piercing the layer of darkness, an old man appeared. His eyes were deep, as if hundreds of years of time had been frozen in them. White beard, long robe, and an old but shining sword in his hand. He bowed in front of Lu Fan with complete respect. "Hero, please accept my respect." His voice trembled, but it was not fear but expectation. "I have been waiting for this day for a very long time." Lu Fan heard the mysterious voice echoing. "Now my king is free." Without a second thought, Lu Fan grabbed the sword with both hands. The sword wasn't heavy, but its spirit was deep. Its blade shone like old wounds, and as Lu Fan held it, a quiet seriousness descended on him. His eyes looked beyond the glow of the sword, to the past, to the souls that now needed peace. The old man stepped forward slowly and spoke in a calm voice. "Now I can give this sword to you, so that the dead souls on the island can rest in peace." He paused, looked up to the sky as if being relieved of an invisible burden, then laughed. A light, tired laugh. The kind that only those who have fulfilled a duty for the last time laugh. Finally, the people of Tianfu Island can now rest in peace. He looked at Lu Fan, eyes filled with gratitude, reverence, and the end of a long wait. "You have restored Tianfu Island to its original state. Thank you very much for that. And now?" He took a deep breath. "I too keep my promise. The future of the Tianfu region is now in your hands, and I'll now entrust it to you." His words lingered in the air. Something strange was happening in the air. The atmosphere around them suddenly changed, as if some invisible force had touched the sky. The clouds that had been rumbling till now suddenly shuddered. And then the sky burst. A flash of lightning tore through the darkness. Streams of blue and purple light descended to the ground, as if an ancient gate between heaven and earth was opening. The 2 people who were hiding behind a rock nearby were stunned by this sight. One said in a disbelieving voice, "The storm disappeared." The other's eyes shimmered in the light and he blurted out, This is incredible. The other man standing with them, an old warrior whose eyes had seen many battles, sighed and said, "This means Andre and the Dragon Tamer have succeeded. Now that Shadow Island belonged to Lu Fan." The status window flashed in front of him. The territorial system has been unlocked. New territory owner Lu Fan territory T Tianfu status restored. Lu Fan stared at the glowing window for a moment. Senior sister stood behind him. The two looked at the status window together. At that moment, senior sister's eyes were filled with a light smile. Who had once hoped that she would inherit the family territory, now spoke very calmly. "Compared to inheriting the family territory from me, you got it all by yourself." Her voice was not jealous, but a soft acceptance. Lu Fan thought to himself that the new facility area not only produces resources every day, but also has a fixed income and worldwide monster refresh, which can serve as a stable experience bridge. The status window shows Shadow Island. The name of that area is Tianfu Island. Area 43,800 square kilometers. Location Black Sand Sea River area resources. Lu Fan's lips formed a light smile. Now Shadow Island will be purified, he thought to himself. And one day it will become a heavenly lamp. A storm of thoughts rose within him. I can now open the port for trade. Resources produced here can be traded. If I want, I can accept commissions from the outside world to exorcise demons. Or make it a holiday island. Then his face became a little serious. And I can come and go whenever I want. His eyes deepened. Lu Fan now had a special power. He could summon storm clouds and thick fog at will, or banish them. This would prevent outsiders from entering the island. And whatever resources were produced here, they were no longer ordinary. They were transformed into Shadow Island versions, which were only found here. The island was now his. Now, the wild monsters on Shadow Island had also changed. They had become the same ferocious and monstrous beasts that Lu Fan had faced before. This brought a satisfied smile to Lu Fan's face. Now I can release my dragons and puppets onto the continent. He thought, they can fight these monsters and grow stronger. The island was no longer just a refuge but a training ground, where power could be forged. Slowly, Lu Fan, senior sister and the others walked forward. As they walked, Lu Fan said to senior sister, "We can also open teleportation here, since it's a great skill." Senior sister smiled and said, "That's really great. Now that the island is beautiful and safe, you can show it off to everyone else." But amid the happy atmosphere, Andre seemed a little worried. He stopped as soon as Lu Fan's gaze fell on him. "Hey, what happened to you?" Lu asked with a slight smile. Andre took a deep breath, then put his hands on his head and said, "My mission was to destroy the Shadow Spring. But I searched the palace for a long time, and only found one spring. That wasn't even the real Shadow Spring." Senior sister's eyes lit up when she heard this. "Of course, there's a hidden area here," she said. "I'll help you find it." Lu Fan stepped forward and said, "Wait a minute, take me to the spring you found. Maybe I can help you switch it to Shadow Spring." Andre was startled. "Switch? What do you mean?" Senior sister smiled and said, "Yes, Andre, are you forgetting? This island belongs to Lu Fan now. He will definitely find a way." Everyone then moved on. About 10 minutes later, they arrived at the Fukushima ruins, called the Place Garden, an old but mysterious place. Andre looked around and said, "My family has a large plot of land, but I don't own anything." Lu Fan looked at the waterfall and smiled softly. "I thought it would be a small waterfall, but it's huge." Senior sister couldn't help herself as she saw the waterfall. She walked forward with a childlike joy, as if she had been touched by a soothing breeze after so many years. The coolness of the waterfall enveloped her deeply. She felt like taking a bath. Lu Fan looked at the bridge and said with a smile, "I didn't expect this bridge to be so huge and old." The three now slowly walked towards the waterfall. Their steps were slow, but their hearts were full of excitement. And Andre looked at the waterfall carefully and said, "Now I see why you said it could be changed. Meaning it could be changed back into Shadow Fountain, right?" Lu Fan nodded slightly. "Yes, if it's the same waterfall, then we can connect it to Shadow Island again. And that gate will open again." Senior sister walked up to the waterfall and started playing with the water. Drops of water splashed from her hands, and she smiled and said, "The waterfall water is so clean. I feel like taking a bath right now." Lu Fan laughed and said, "Then take a bath, no problem." But then, something strange was felt. Senior sister's smile stopped. She looked at the water closely, her eyes widened. Wait, this water, she said softly. There's something in it. She smiled again and said, this water is 50% magical. I just touched a little bit and I felt my muscles get heavier. I'm getting stronger. Andre's eyes lit up. Really? Then I'll try it too. He quickly dipped his hand into the water. After a few moments, he said loudly, oh my God, you were right. I too am feeling something, as if electricity has passed through my body. Lu Fan exclaimed in surprise. This blessing spring water is amazing. It can increase all our abilities from 3% to 30% at every level. Senior sister's eyes lit up, that powerful. So I can upgrade it over 90 times. The status window revealed. This water is called Blessing Spring Water. Users can touch it for 10 seconds and increase their abilities by 330% according to that level. But if someone has already upgraded to that level or above, it won't work. Senior sister immediately made plans, smiling. This is priceless stuff. It can be bottled and sold for a very high price. Shall I contact Tianhua's boss lady? Just take a small commission. Lu Fan laughed and said, hey big sister, stop being crazy. I have no intention of selling it. First I have to help Andre finish the job. He then clicked on the status window and watched as the area turned into shadow islands. Suddenly lightning flashed in the sky. The two men looked at each other in surprise. The first man asked, why are things changing? What is happening? The second man standing next to him said, maybe this is the moment. Lu Fan and Andre are really succeeding. Seeing the situation, Lu Fan and his whole group sprang into action. Xiao Fei also immediately started waving the flag in the air. Lu Fan immediately entrusted Xiao Fei with the responsibility of protection and care. The status window said, the shadow fountain is an epic quality material which has been polluted by the power of the blessed light spring shadow of Shadow Island, and has now turned into a waterfall of miasma. Andre revealed, Lu Fan, now I understand. The real purpose of destroying the shadow waterfall was to harm your region's resources. Lu Fan smiled and said, don't worry, brother. Once you're done, I'll find someone to fix it. Senior sister also laughed and said, since it's being fixed, I think the whole ruined city will shine again. Andre smiled as he raised his hammer. Wow, that's too kind. And then he hit the ground with his big hammer, which caused a strange vibration. And Andre said, brother, I'll build you a paradise for the holidays. Lu Fan and everyone returned to their huge ship. Lu Fan said, the journey to the islands is now complete. Now we can definitely return home. This journey was really rewarding. Not only did I get a large amount of synthesis materials, but I also unlocked my own region. And Andre's mission was also completed, for which he will receive a good reward. Everyone's faces reflected satisfaction and hope. Lu Fan looked at the newly captured territory, but it was now largely ruined. Andre felt heavy-hearted. He handed Lu Fan a book and said, I will help you resettle this island. Andre smiled and said, this is a book with an extremely powerful skill. It will be useful to you. A cool breeze was blowing gently on the boat. Senior sister was lost in her thoughts. Shadow Falls will be resettled, so she will definitely come there. Lu Fan was also thinking to himself, we have to gather all the materials for the 100 Dragon King contract.